This is our review for Logan. Now, Logan is being directed by James Mangold and starring, of course, Hugh Jackman, who's been playing this character since 2000, as well as Patrick Stewart. Now, I gotta just say flat out, I love this movie.
It was really good. It was amazing. I definitely was expecting it to be good, but it was even better than I thought it was going to be.
What I loved about this movie, it was so much different than any other X-Men film we've ever seen. It was so grounded in reality and it just felt like there's just a bunch of X-Men characters in this movie. It just really felt like it was in real time. It was just, I gotta say, I saw this film in IMAX at Universal. And I was just so immersed in this film on the big screen. It was crazy how it was just amazing.
I just really love how this movie really humanized Wolverine. And, I mean, like you said, it didn't really feel like a comic book movie. It felt more just like a real live action or live drama. Like, it really was. It did happen to have comic book characters in it, but it was really just a drama with a lot of action. This movie is super gory and super brutal, which was awesome. But this movie definitely really did benefit, I think, from being rated R. I don't think a movie could have been as good as it was at a PG-13 rating.
I agree with that.
Part of it, I mean, just was the total brutality of Wolverine, just especially when he's raging out. I mean, you couldn't depict that quite the same if it was rated PG-13, so I think it was really even brave choice. I mean, Deadpool kind of paved the way for a rated R comic book movie, but this movie definitely just took that and wrote it. Definitely was a good decision, I think.
Yeah, and just going off more about this film being so grounded, just little things. Obviously, this is definitely a more bruised and battered Logan than we've ever seen because the adamantium, and by the way, this is a spoilers review because we got to figure if you're watching this review, you've probably seen this movie by now, and if you haven't, pause this review and go see this movie. But I'm assuming you have. To me, like, what they said was that the adamantium was, basically poisoning him that he had been injected with over time. So just seeing little things like the character being able not to heal as much anymore, wearing glasses, like actually, like he felt like an actual human. It was incredible. I loved it. And also too, right away at the beginning of this film, when the guys are trying to jack the car, you see the first away. I love how that scene was awesome. But I love how the camera pans in on Logan's shoes, and you can see he's not obviously he's drunk for sure.
Yeah.
But like he's bruised, he's battered.
I knew this movie wasn't fooling around when literally the very first word that is said is fuck, and then right after that he basically just like rips off two people's limbs and kills like action. 2 or 3 people. I was like, okay, this movie is not messing around. I'm ready to go. So I just noticed that right away, and it totally just rode that the whole time.
Yeah, no, for sure. You mentioned it earlier, the brutality and the action. You got some of the guy's arms were being cut off. He was like, and I love too when they shot at him and then he fell down, then he came back up and is like, guys, come on, really? By the way, you mentioned the word fuck really quick. That was used right away in this movie. I gotta say, no one cusses or especially uses the F word like Hugh Jackman. He just is the best, especially when he told the woman who was who was taking care of Laura X-23, he's like, get the fuck away from me. Just the way he says fuck, I love it. I know we don't normally curse on this channel, but Hugh Jackman just brings it out of us.
This is our rated R review for the rated R movie.
That's very good point. Good point.
The stakes behind this movie really paved the way for it to be a really good drama and actually have feelings for the characters. The characters are very well realized in this movie, and it shows.
Yeah, no, and going more off of the stakes being so high in this movie, I mean, you got obviously we got Charles dying and of course Logan dying, which we're going to go into that later in this review, of course. But also talking about, like, they just meet a family, and by the way, if you notice that family, the dad was Daryl from Coming to America, the Soul Glow Prince. Fun little fact. But like, they just meet this family, and like everything seems like cool and collected, and then boom, the whole family gets killed, like wiped out, and like I knew there was like I saw that the scene was definitely setting up that they could be in trouble, but I thought the normal like comic book trope is let the family live, it's the good thing to do, but no, they
especially like the kid's like the first one to die, and
the brutality of the murder, it's like damn, they are not messing around. Of course, it's a rated R film, I get it, but it's like that's why it's so different than any comic book film. And I mean, this film even changed tonally sometimes, where like when X-24 was introduced, for instance, it felt like a horror slasher film to me, and it worked for me though.
Yeah, well, it really plays into the feeling that anyone who Logan, like, even talks about it, even anyone who gets close to Logan ends up hurt or dying. So the fact that all the family died as soon as they took them in, like, especially right after like Charles was like, take a minute and take in what being in a family feels like. Just like embrace this moment. I thought that was actually a really big, crucial point in this movie for Logan, because he's never felt that. He's been a weapon basically his whole life, so he's never had like a normal life. He doesn't know really what love is. That kind. I mean, he obviously loved Jean Grey, but
yeah, of course,
I mean, he doesn't have that feeling.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And also too, just adding more to that. I mean, he said that. Like you said, he's got so much pain and rage. That's all he's known his whole life. So, and throughout the film, he's got an adamantium bullet. He wants to blow his brains out once Charles dies. Like when they get to the ocean, he wants to kill himself. He doesn't. He wants to die. He doesn't want to live anymore. So I thought that was a very interesting like arc, or rather story, that they were going through for this Logan. And I love that the whole family bond and character relationships in this film, especially. I mean, obviously Charles and Logan. Anytime they're on screen together, I always love watching Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. They are so great.
That's
together.
like the nostalgia for me, just like seeing those two together.
But seeing a different Charles Xavier in this film, how he's
way different.
He
super vulnerable.
He's so vulnerable. He can't control himself anymore. I mean, like. And also he's taking pills. Like I never would have thought you'd see the Patrick Stewart version of Xavier like this. So that was definitely very cool to see, or not cool to see, but it was it was interesting to see. It was very compelling storytelling for me.
I really love Charles's last scene where he's like, I don't deserve this great feeling I just had, because he just realizes that he's kind of the one who potentially killed a bunch of the X-Men. Like, they don't really exactly say that in the movie, but they talk about how
that's why he's in that seclusion area.
Yeah, they talk about how there was a big episode in New York, which is where the school is, and that a lot of people died, and they're about to say X-Men, but Logan turns off the radio just in time, just so they kind of like make you think about it, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But then in that moment when you think Logan walks in, but it's really X-24. And he's like,
that was crazy.
This is one of the best nights I've had, like, in a really, really long time, but I don't deserve it. And he has this whole monologue. Mm-hmm. And then that scene kind of confused me a little bit, because I'm like, wait a minute. I thought it was like a dream sequence or something. So I'm like, he stabs him in the chest, which is brutal. Yeah. But then at the same time, Charles kind of went out pretty quickly and like unexpectedly in that way. So. And
also too, there's some moments in this film that really made me like felt heartfelt, and I was crying. I'm not gonna lie, I was crying a few times. Like the line too where Logan is saying, he's holding, it was like, it wasn't me, Charles.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
And also too, like how he could not speak after burying Charles, and then he just starts going into rage mode on his truck. Like
that's the one that really hit home for me when they buried Charles, and he's like. He tried to say 2 words and he couldn't after that. He just like couldn't do anything.
That's why this film felt so real to me. These characters, the performances, they're just so on point, and just we care so much about these characters that during the action sequences and the moments where they're feeling vulnerable, like we're more invested in the scene rather than it feeling like having no substance in those action scenes. It just adds so much more to the dramatic tension of the film. Like during these action sequences, my eyes are so much more focused on the film rather than this is a cool action sequence, but I don't really care about what's going on with these characters.
We gotta talk about one thing though.
X-23.
That little girl,
she's amazing,
was a badass. Oh my god!
And before we keep talking,
she was awesome.
Yeah, she was, and I want to keep talking about her in a second. It's just I find it funny, like everyone's saying, who's gonna replace Wolverine? Who's gonna replace Wolverine? Her. Like, and
she's X-23?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, people are saying who's going to be the new Wolverine now that Hugh Jackman's not. I'm not saying don't replace him at some point, which I don't know how you're going to, because I gotta say, he's my favorite comic book casting character ever.
At least wait a while. Like,
yeah, no, for sure, but I'm saying,
movie.
I want to see more with Laura, X-23, just the relation, I mean, besides how amazingly ass-kicking she was, like, she was in the first action sequence we got to see of her where we think they're ambushing this little girl, and then we hear in the background and she just brings out with the severed head. It's like, and then you see the action sequence.
No, but that action scene, like when she comes out, I was like, holy shit,
amazing.
This girl is like all over the place.
Yeah, I mean,
freaking hit girl reincarnated.
Definitely. Oh yeah, no, definitely. You're right, absolutely. And it was just the relationship between her and Logan. Definitely felt very reminiscent of Last of Us. I don't know if you ever played that game between Ellie and Joel, but that relationship, I was just I loved how at first, like, he wanted nothing to do with this kid, and then he took her on. Then the more that they got to know each other, the relationship expanded, and I totally bought it. And the moment, of course, where Logan dies and she's holding him, he's saying, so this is what it feels like. And then
that was a great line.
Oh, it's so heart wrenching for me. And like watching her performance, her face, and like holding him and saying, "Daddy," like. it was so earned in that
It really
moment, and
was.
just in their relationship. I love how it just, expanded from where it started, and then, how she was kind of mute throughout the film, and then she starts speaking Spanish.
And then she goes off with a whole string of and she won't shut up after that.
Yeah, no, but it's also...
No, but the best part has to be after she buries him. They bury him, and she takes the cross and turns it into an X.
Amazing.
My favorite part of the whole movie, just because
words.
Yeah, exactly.
It was such an iconic moment just to turn into the next, and I was incredible. I had never felt so like pumped over a moment.
And I wasn't expecting it, even though it was
I
right.
agree.
I kind of did notice that the cross was completely even. It wasn't shorter in the middle.
Yeah.
But I'm when she did it, I'm oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, no, I had the exact same feeling. When she started to grab, I'm like, what is she do? Oh my god, that's amazing.
I also really like
that.
how at the funeral she was reciting the words from the movie they were watching in the hotel, Shane, I think it's called, that Western. The movie really did have kind of a Western vibe sometimes,
too. Definitely. And also, James Mangold, he made a Western film with Christian Bale, I believe it was called 3:10 to Yuma.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's obviously, he made the Johnny Cash film, I Walk the Line. That's not a Western film, but Johnny Cash sang a lot of Western songs.
Yeah, it's true.
So, there's definitely, and also, I guess from a perspective of Shane, the similarity is I haven't really seen Shane, but I know some of the similarities where it's a warrior who doesn't really want to come back, doesn't want to fight. He just wants to settle off and kind of go off in peace rather. And he's kind of forced into a battle. Yeah, there's
parallels.
And also,
in this movie.
you see Shane, and when they're in the hotel on screen when Charles Xavier's watching.
Exactly.
I got to say too, some of the humor in this movie.
It's perfect.
It was really subtle
no
and
jokes,
funny,
but
yeah.
it was some hilarious moments.
Yeah. Just one of my favorite funny moments is when he's talking to Charles and saying, "Let me see, did you take your pills?" And he's like, "Open your mouth." That was so funny. I love stuff like that.
It's all situational, and that was the perfect way for them to do it.
And also too, some of the moments between or Logan rather and Laura, when they're in the gas station, and he's like, "Don't do that," and then he's like, "Don't steal," and then he ends up stealing a phone charger, and he grabs the cigars.
Do you sell phone chargers? And he just takes it.
Yeah, and then he takes some of the cigars too. So I love that. But little moments like that, just some funny moments for sure.
I also thought it was really interesting how they used actual comic books of the X-Men in this movie. It's kind of weird, it's the X-Men, but there's comics about the X-Men, so it's almost like a fourth wall break, but not really, because obviously they just, took the stories of what happened in that movie's real life, and how, when he saw the coordinates on the, in the comic, he thought, oh, it's all fake, but it ended up being real because that's what all the kids knew, and so they all went there, so, I mean... It kind of was real.
Yeah, well, with what the explanation they gave in the film, saying that they had inspired these comic book characters because of the real life events where they had saved the
half
world
the
many
shit didn't even
times.
happen.
Yeah, I was kind of again because this film felt so grounded in reality. I was with the explanation that was given. I was actually okay.
I
with
loved
that.
it. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool, and
Yeah.
it actually the comic books actually played somewhat of a role in the
they
movie.
did, for sure.
So you could say the comic book actually played a role in the comic book movie.
And also too, just seeing Logan looking at a comic book of himself with the yellow Wolverine suit.
He's literally flipping through.
I thought that was entertaining. It was fun. It was cool to see.
Half the stuff that did happened way different. I just thought it was funny.
No, for
kind
sure.
of cool little thing that they did. I wasn't
no, I
expecting.
agree. I thought again, just with the tone and ground in reality, I thought it was appropriate, and I enjoyed it a lot for sure. I gotta also say, one of my other favorite scenes, I mean, honestly, this whole movie is a favorite scene of mine. This whole movie is just incredibly well put together, and it's the scene transitioning is just perfect for me. But if we're going into specifically some other certain scenes, we gotta talk really quickly about the scene where Charles is kind of freezing everyone.
In the hotel?
In the hotel,
Yeah.
and he's just, and Wolverine's just
The
clawing.
slow motion.
He's clawing his ways through the wall. Just clawing his ways through the wall, and just cutting guys, cutting the gore, the violence,
yeah.
the visual effects.
Oh no!
just-
And the best was the one guy who's looking, and he's just and he just looks out of the corner of his eye, and then just gets owned in the face.
Yeah, no, it was so great.
And you could also see X-23 too, also kind of moving and handing him the syringe.
The syringe, yeah. No, that was such a great moment. I loved it, and again, the visuals in that scene just awesome. And also, too, it kind of, not in terms of how fast Logan was moving, but in terms of how slow everyone else was moving. It had a little similarities to that Days of Future Past scene where Quicksilver is kind of running through the kitchen a little bit in terms of just how slow, everyone's moving in comparison to Logan. So I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, it was cool and well done. I mean, overall, I think the visual effects in this movie were really well done. what didn't seem like there was too much straight
Yeah.
CGI, but all the action was great, and like all the scenes were obviously, you know, Logan and X-23 are flipping all
more
over the place,
hand-to-hand combat kind of stuff too,
Yeah,
rather
it was just
than
really
visual
handled really, it
effects.
was just handled really
And also
well.
some of the sequences where they're driving cars going through fences and stuff, I thought those were handled. The camera,
Yeah.
none of this crap from Man of Steel with the shaky cam, you know.
You love the shaky cam.
No, I don't. Man of Steel is the worst version of that, and just saying. Anyways, getting back to this, I thought the cinematography was really well done, especially on the action sequences. Again, as I said, being in that IMAX screen, even though I know this film wasn't really shot too much for IMAX, I felt so immersed in the action and in all these sequences, like I was actually there.
It was really well shot.
done.
You could actually see everything that's happening in the fight scenes. Like there was not too many cutaways, and like
yeah.
there was always very clear shots. Like none, like wasn't like chasing the action. It was always right there in the middle. So
yeah, for sure. And obviously we got to talk about that final climactic
in
battle.
the forest,
well, yeah, when he gets the syringe, takes and goes berserk mode.
and she's like, he took all of it.
Yeah,
he goes crazy.
I mean, obviously, I love the action I was seeing on the screen, but the crowd's reaction to how they were just getting like, just like I was feeling the same way. Like everyone in the crowd was just going crazy, and I was the same way. I felt like a little kid again. Watching this, almost like just seeing him go berserk mode, killing all these guys, and then when we get to that, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love how like all the younger kids, like the younger X-Men, are just in awe of him going off because he was really.
Well, I liked that it inspired them too to start getting into it because they were way outnumbered, obviously, and then he started cutting all the soldiers in half, and obviously the numbers started favoring them a little bit, but that kind of more inspired them to start like fighting again. So. But that's what I love about Logan. He's so selfless. Like he was going there to save the kids. He could have easily went the other way.
Well,
but
like you said earlier, he kind of wanted to die, anyways. So he might as well go out guns blazing or
in berserk
daggers ablazing. But
yeah, no, for sure. That battle between X-24 and Logan, like what I loved about it somewhat was the metaphorical thing. Being like, what I mean is, X-24 represents the side of Logan that he'd been fighting his whole life, pain and rage, and now he's fighting this version of himself, and I just thought it was just such an intense emotional battle, and that obviously he didn't win the battle. Laura had to come in there and save him with the adamantium bullet, but just the fight itself, I just thought like he was just, again, he was completely outmatched at that point.
Yeah, X-24 was a beast. I mean, he was huge. So I definitely agree with you about the metaphor. I mean, Logan definitely was facing his inner demon basically right there, like just the clone genetic version of because they talked about earlier in the scenes, like when they're talking about the kids, they didn't think they would have souls or like be people, but they really were. So they wanted to create something that was just, not thinking, just straight rage. So they came up with X-24. And so that's exactly what Logan was like, trying to deal with. So,
and I know this film kind of felt like it took the stakes of Days of Future Past away because, like, wow, all that, and now 5-6 years later, they're all dead already. And I get some of that argument, but what I would say to that is, again, this is set 6-7 years down the line. Also, too, they made somewhat of an interesting plot point that I thought was pretty cool, where the bad guy, was it Xander Price? Was that Xander Rice? I believe.
Rice.
Xander Rice. Where his character, I guess he had said that he had, to stop mutants from being born, he put something in like cereal and soda, stuff like that, because they're a corporation, Alkali Corporation, so they could, they had the means and the power to do that. I thought that was an interesting thing on like how they got rid of mutants. Obviously, Charles had talked about how he killed a lot of them in the mansion, but the most of them were wiped out, from Xander Rice, where he was doing that thing with the genetics from the soda to the cereal. So I thought that was actually a really interesting plot point of getting rid of the mutants. And again, I just thought it raised the stakes. Yes, it kind of took a little bit away from what happened in Days of Future Past, but these are so much different movies tonally that I wasn't even thinking about Days of Future Past and what had been lost
the X-Men universe is so jumbled up time-wise anyway. I wasn't even thinking about any of the other X-Men movies. I was just watching this movie alone.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Deadpool said it best. These timelines are so confusing.
By the way, that Deadpool opening scene was hilarious.
I was definitely
and it was
laughing.
after the normal previews and like after the theater intro, so I didn't think this guy comes out with a hood. I'm like, okay, that's Logan right there, and he's Deadpool.
Well, I heard the music. I was actually thinking Deadpool because that was, I believe that was the music that was playing in that first leaked trailer that ever came out. So
that's right. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that
because it was just call me Angel, and then he jumps into the Escalade.
Yeah,
that's why I was right when I heard that music. I was thinking Deadpool, but then I was thinking, there's no way he's in Logan. Just tonally wouldn't fit. And I know it definitely would have been inappropriate for after. I'm glad I'm actually in the end. I'm really happy there was no after credit scene.
Just makes the movie seem final.
No. Well, also just the moment we just been dealt with a heart wrench, like,
the movie ends on a really sad
moment.
note.
Yeah, and it was like perfect. And again, I'm very happy that they didn't end it with an after credit scene. But I still think what would have been funny is if like Deadpool was trying on Wolverine's yellow costume or doing something like that. I know it would have made everyone upset because like what they had just dealt with Logan and all, and very inappropriate. But that's what Deadpool is. He is inappropriate.
But
I'm glad they didn't
everyone
do
would
it.
been so mad because they waited all these movies for Wolverine to put it on, and then in the end it's Deadpool who puts it on.
I just thought it would have been hysterical.
That would have been a giant FU, but it still would have been hilarious. So I would have enjoyed that.
But that's what Deadpool is. He's a giant FU, and he's hilarious.
He really is.
But in the end, I'm glad that they didn't really do anything because it did really end perfectly. But I just sometimes feel that the end credits is not always like interconnected to what is exactly going on.
They could have just thrown it on.
But again, I'm still happy with what happened. We got to give this film a score. It's really well directed. I like the pacing. I thought the performances by everyone, especially Laura, of course. But Hugh Jackman, I really would like him to get a Best Actor nomination, but I don't know if the Academy Awards are going to take this guy.
Maybe.
But who knows? But I thought his performance, it really stood out over. And again, I've loved him in all the films as Logan, including the ones that weren't as good. But this performance stood out to me the most just because of how deep his character went emotionally, and I loved it. Patrick Stewart was also incredible. The character relationships in this film were really good. The action was good, very good. You were more immersed because we cared about these characters. I thought the story was very well. Again, the cinematography was really well done. It was not too many cutaways, and it was very clear what was going on. I'm giving Logan a 9.4 out of 10.
Yeah, I really, really love this movie. I was expecting to like it. I came out loving it. It really is a character story between these three main characters, and you really see how, especially the relationship between Laura and Logan really grows, but then also, the history of Logan and Charles and all that together. Like you said, they really were they became a family. Too bad they had to be broken up so quickly, but it really was a really good the story was pretty basic, like, get Laura to this location that she wants to go to, but it really didn't need too much. I mean, it had enough action to take care of all that, and all the character moments were really well done. I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for Hugh Jackman. I mean, that's going to do it for this video.
It is going to do it for Hugh Jackman, you're right.
Let us know if you liked this video in the comment section, and if you did like it, please hit that subscribe button.
See you guys next time.